Good morning, everybody. I'm very pleased to announce and introduce this fifth meeting of our week, of our digital event dedicated to Mental Health Day. So during this week, we have interviewed several HR professionals to know more about their idea and their approach to mental health at work. So for this fifth meeting, we decided to do something a little bit different. So as you may notice, we are speaking in English, and we have involved a different professional from Human and Work Group. So I'm here with Ketut David-Liège, International Project Manager. Hello, Ketut. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us more about your role?
So, hello, Marta. I am, as you said, International Project Manager at the Human and Work Group. My role here is to support all clients whose projects involve several countries. So my mission is to ensure that we are able to implement in the 123 countries of our network with the same level of performance and quality as in our countries.
Mm-hmm. Nice, Ketut. So I see that you can have a lot of contact with the decisioners from companies, multinational companies, and I wonder about your opinion. As far as we talk a lot about the importance and the priority of mental health at work. So can you tell me if, from your perspective as an international project manager, do you see that trend on how companies decide to promote well-being at work?
Well, indeed, now more than ever, emotional well-being is a key issue for any company. It's not a new issue, but with the pandemic and its negative impact on mental health, awareness has raised about mental health. It marked a turning point where most companies had to focus on taking care of their staff. Suddenly, work-life balance was being addressed more than ever. Managers had to pay attention to have play an essential role to ensure health and safety of their team, both at work and remotely. This new awareness creates an unprecedented opportunity to integrate psychological health as a pillar of each company's strategy and thus contribute to its success at an international level. We see HR managers take advantage of this new trend to promote global policies internally in a way they never had dreamed of before. I think of a luxury group dedicating their annual senior managers meeting to well-being at work and launching a global training program for all their EMEA managers, for example.
Okay, so are you saying that you are facing more and more multinational companies decide to take action and implement multi-country programs?
Well, another particularity of the pandemic is that it impacted everyone around the world at the same moment on a very large scale. So all managers and employees had to face the same challenges, regardless of the location, and they shared the same difficulties. So teams around the world joined forces and learned to work closer together. They shared best practices and they also focused on common solutions. Therefore, it becomes today more accessible for multinational companies to approach this issue globally. One of our clients, a bank, encountered difficulties in fostering the usage on their employee assistance program. They had launched it in a few countries, and they identified that if they really wanted to thoroughly change the perception of this service, they had to make it a priority for all countries. So today they choose to implement the service globally, worldwide.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have mentioned an example of a particular reality. So which type of different action do global programs include? Can you tell us more or give us more on that?
Well, yes, a global program has the ambition to support companies address this issue of well-being at work with a holistic approach, from organization to individuals, and to cover prevention, awareness, and care. So the first dimension consists, of course, of improving working conditions at an organizational level. we encourage companies to take the time to consider the impact the working conditions have on their staff's mental health. Thorough assessment of psychological risks in the company will allow the design of action plans to prevent or to reduce risks and improve quality of life at work. To give you an example, we are supporting a group in the process of a merger which impacts 4,000 employees in 4 countries. So we are assessing the levels of risk through quantitative and qualitative studies. This will allow, based on sound scientific approach, to identify the main risks and offer recommendations. Conducting this investigation at a global level will ensure that target policies, the organization, consider both the global strategy and all the local specificities.
Okay, so you're saying that it's becoming more and more common that companies take action, implement this type of action at an organizational level. So I imagine and I think about all the type of analysis and evaluation that we can do to assess psychosocial risks. And do you think there are other ways also to support in a more concrete way employees in their experience at work?
Well, this is the second level of action, developing the staff's soft skills, actually both at a managerial and individual level. Healthy managerial culture, efficient organization, sound relationships between employees, they should be valued and promoted. We also recommend the development of individual skills by changing their perception and response to stressors. Employee can improve their ability to cope with pressure and, in case, detect stress-induced symptoms earlier. Today, companies experiment change at a global level. For instance, we work with an industrial company going through a major change in their digital tools. Of course, you can imagine the scope of this change is not only France. They have anticipated, and their transformation project includes a wide training program of 11 countries to prepare the 300 managers not only to be ready for the operational change, but to master needed tools to prevent, detect, or even support the possible stress that their team members may face. That said, emotional well-being programs also benefit from being supported by this duty of care. This is the third level. Numerous studies have shown that taking into account the issues that employees face on a day-to-day basis will increase their well-being. So we are talking here of employee assistance programs, but also critical incident interventions when companies face sensitive situations.
Okay, so I see that there are a lot of ways of implementing and taking action to assure and to promote well-being at work. So you have mentioned a different level of prevention. So we are saying that we can assess, we can analyze at first, then we can provide some kind of concrete support by developing the skills of employees in facing all the daily challenges. And finally, we can also put in place some kind of programs with the objective of provide a concrete support on every side of their life. So when you say employee assistance programs, we know that we are going to provide all the employees with a tool to support their emotional well-being in any type, in any aspect of their life, so both professional and personal life. So I see that it's a very big topic. Do you think there are common aspects of key success factors in implementing and conducting a global program?
Well, I would say first, to be successful, global program should cover these three dimensions, combining organizational actions, developing skills, and offering individual support to every single employee. For one major energy company where employees face concrete physical risks in the workplace, we have built such program in 36 countries, identifying the need for psychological support in case of critical incident. We have supported them in the creation of a role of a psychological first aid referent in their teams. This necessitated first a wide training program to raise awareness amongst all employees and to identify volunteers. And then thorough training for these psychological first aid reference. These reference skills allow now a first support in the workplace before our expert teams intervene on a crisis intervention mode when needed. And employees are also provided support thanks to an employee assistance program, as you mentioned. A second key success factor is the global coherence of well-being and mental health programs. Worldwide strategy can allow a better benchmarking and alignment of group policies. If you have a corporate policy seamlessly aligned in all countries, it will increase the company's influence and foster employees' sense of belonging. However, it is vital that the program, while being the company's strategy at a global level, is adapted to the specific needs of the company and its employees locally. If a group of supermarkets deployed throughout Europe already has important local HR policies, having launched, for example, physical health initiatives in one country, social assistance in another, the best way to touch all employees and foster user adoption is to link the program to these local existing policies. Not even to mention the language and cultural differences, where one country's population is used to access to psychologists, when in other employees will fear to be identified as going to see a psychologist in another country. So when we're asked if it's more advisable to implement a top-down or bottom-up policy, shall a company focus on a strategy driven by headquarters and standardized in all countries, or in a strategy inspired by local initiatives, our advice is to prefer what we call a global approach, so with a global inspiration and a local delivery and adaptation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you told us something I think very, very interesting. So by mentioning some other examples of real and concrete projects, we can see that I think that it's very important to tackle the right people who can be some kind of ambassadors of taking action and taking care of well-being at work. So when you mention, for example, psychological first aiders, that's clicking in my mind this type of importance of tackling the right people inside the companies that can become ambassadors about this. And then I know that putting in place global policies could be challenging. So thank you very much for having introduced us into this new perspective of a global approach. So I think that it's very, 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 very interesting. Okay, so during the last interviews that we have conducted, we always ask when we are almost at the end of our chat, what does the HR professional foresee for the future as trends inside the well-being sector? So I wonder, in this case, I would like to know from your perspective, what will be your advice for an HR manager who would like to take action and take care of his or her employees' well-being?
Well, my advice would be employees need help. Our world is uncertain. They face conflict, they face environmental crisis, inflation, rampant day-to-day violence. They need support. And lots of services are available. Support Ukrainian teams and refugees, offer financial advice in this inflation context. It is possible. Also, take care of your managers. There is high pressure on managers. We see lots of requests for program for them, and they need it. They will be key ambassadors of well-being in your company. You were mentioning this role. Well, if you are a local HR manager, do not wait for global strategies. We receive every day calls from global HR because they want to extend, inspire local policies. Be the ones to start changing your company. And if you're a global HR manager, I would say be ambitious. The best way to promote a coherent well-being policy is to include it in a global strategy and onboard all the teams in the journey. Bearing in mind, of course, the local reality of your different entities.
Okay, I think it was very, very interesting to see your perspective, and I do really value your point of view, as far as you have so much experience in being in contact with the HR managers and conducting them in finding solution for the today challenges. So there are a lot of challenges, as you mentioned. Do you have maybe a word to conclude this chat?
4 words.
Yes.
Let's say, I would say, think global and act local.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that this sums up really what you have mentioned before. So, okay, thank you very much, Ketut.
Thank you very much, Marta.
Thank you. Have a nice day.